Who are you a guy of now with the Washington Commanders coaching search? Because you were a Mike Macdonald guy for a day.
I mean, I've learned.
You went from a Ben Johnson guy to a Mike Macdonald
it's amazing
guy.
How,
I just have to pick.
by the way, back patter, I called it yesterday. Go to the tape. I said Macdonald was going to Seattle. Remember we were going around picking our.
Okay, yes, I said Macdonald would be
two
here.
choices.
Yeah, I mean,
Why?
I know, but everyone thought, McDonald's local. His wife is from Fredericksburg.
well, that was JP's theory.
No, that was Drab's.
Okay, Drab. Okay,
Drabby had the red.
the cheer.
the cheerleader
She was a
cheer.
cheerleader.
That really
Turned out
worked
she
out.
cheered for 9 teams
That
already in the league.
meant nothing.
Well, hold on.
Did he
Do
get a
we even
6-year
know?
deal?
6-year deal.
years.
Yeah.
God bless him. That's what Johnson turned out. Do we, allegedly maybe, well, do we even know if they offered him?
Don't know that.
No idea.
Offered McDonald.
Yeah.
No,
They
I-
interviewed him.
I know I saw the report that when they heard he was on the way to Seattle, that they placed another call to try to grasp. I did see that.
Oh, okay.
When they,
So who are you a guy of now, Cakes? If you have to
mean-
pick one of the remaining candidates.
so I have to pick from Quinn.
Yeah, you can't
Glenn,
go
and
outside
Weaver?
the box. We can talk about that later.
Yeah, who's it gonna
I know
be?
you were saying Saban is your grasper,
All right, this is
but of the guys
All
that
right,
they
get
have
ready.
interviewed, it includes Eric Bieniemy, offensive guy, and then 3
Baseball.
defensive guys.
I'm about to throw a curveball.
Weaver,
Here's my curveball.
Quinn.
Because I love plucking from Valdez's organization. Anthony Weaver, right down
You're a
the
Weaver
pipe.
guy now.
Curveball. Yeah, I'm a Weaver guy now.
I mean, I would love if Vrabel was back in the mix,
know.
even though they haven't interviewed him. I don't think.
No,
Yeah, I
there's
just
been
don't
no mention of him.
I mean, I think he's the best.
But now, you can interview whoever you want because now you're the only team left with a vacancy.
You don't have to
there's
rush.
no rush whatsoever.
Did you see his reception?
Yes.
I mean, it was
They
a
love-
party
He looked
scene
like
there
a
when he
They
showed
love
up.
conquering
him.
hero was walking into the
How old is that
facility.
kid? How old is
36.
McDonald?
36.
Wow.
And Val-
Nice
and,
life. On top of the
By the
world.
way,
I think
props
Drab-
to, remember who was I talking about yesterday, Valdez? Denard Wilson got the defensive coordinator job in Tennessee.
Good for him.
We're gonna get him on the show.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
The Ravens coaching staff
Yeah.
is like a carcass right now.
Yeah,
It's
no.
just getting picked over.
Well, I mean, Weaver could be out.
How did the
McDonald's
state of the
out.
Ravens go yesterday? How did
Wilson
that turn out?
I think they postponed it.
Yeah, they're like, you know what? There's too much happening.
Wilson's out. They
Yeah.
lost their assistant offensive line coach. They lost their
Where did he
chief.
go?
He went to the Chargers. They lost their chief analytics and player development guy to
Right.
the Chargers.
Yeah, he's the GM now, right?
Yeah.
Ortiz
So Jim's
or-
taking his guys. His
No,
brother.
that's Horitz too. Horitz
Yeah.
and the analytics
So
guy is
is
gone.
that causing a rift in the family, or
I
is he
don't
just
know.
throwing him a bone?
I don't know, but they're
You're
just
stealing your brother's
the
staff.
Yeah, but they've had
the
staff members go
cabinet-
back and forth.
you know
the
what?
cabinet is getting raided
But they
right now.
offered him the GM
Yeah.
job, and obviously the Ravens
I
have
feel
their
like
GM.
the Ravens are so good at developing coaches that they're just.
Hold on,
cocky that
I'm not done yet. T. Martin is rumored
that's
to be
right. I've
leaving
heard
to
his name.
Seattle.
Yeah.
Zachary Orr, who's a rising defensive coordinator, could be leaving. I mean,
I'm a Weaver guy. All of a sudden, that's my guy.
dude, I've never seen departures, a mass exodus like this.
Pretty crazy.
Weaver looks good, at least in the pictures.
He looks jacked. Totally jacked.
I looked at some of the pictures of him on the sideline. He's got sunglasses on. He just
And
looks
people
sharp.
they're saying like he's the next. This is ironic. I'd be saying this. He could be the next Dan Campbell type. Like, just everybody rallies around him. I'm not going to say the LOM words because that's driving me crazy of late. Leader man, I'm not going to do it.
They've
yeah,
got to make an
I'm gonna go with
announcement
Weaver.
today,
Weaver's
right?
my guy now.
There's no rush now.
There's no rush.
Yeah.
Well, except for the Super Bowl week. They don't want to do it next week, so they'd have to do it this
Yeah,
week.
but there's no rush because there's no competition for the
Well,
guys.
the rush
Well,
might
I mean,
be
you
to
got-
hire somebody because all the other guys who have been hired are filling out their staff.
does
and
Anthony
now
Weaver-
you're going to have
does he know
nubs
a lot of
left to
offensive
fill out your
guys, though?
staff.
I think there is a rush.
Who are his offensive guys off the Anthony Weaver
Who,
tree?
Weaver?
Yeah, this is what
I
need
don't
to
know. Maybe he would bring in Hewitt because Hewitt was the pass game coordinator.
Okay.
But he was also the secondary coach. He
All
could
right.
actually do offense or defense. He could bring T. Martin with him.
Okay.
If T. Martin's a hot commodity and McDonald wants him in Seattle. Other than that, and then what? Willie Taggart's their running backs coach.
I'm willing to go out there and be first on this train. Now, I want to preface this by saying, you guys know I've been steadfast this entire time. I've not been locked in on any of these guys. I don't really care because I've seen them all fail. So I'll root for whoever they got. But my heart wasn't set on McDonald. My heart wasn't set on Ben Johnson. My heart's been set on nobody. So it actually just humors me.
Yeah.
But If Peters has been after these guys he's failed, I'm willing to already start turning on Peters if you want. You guys had the job for 5 days. I'm willing to turn on him. I'm willing to say he sucks.
I think we're going to get into that at 7 a.m. because there's a lot of people that feel that way, and it's a turn.
I don't,
because
but I'm
2
willing
weeks
to just
ago,
to tweak.
It's
2 weeks ago, everybody was like, everybody was on cloud nine. We're going to trust this guy, and now all of a sudden people are turning. I just
remember I said he was too nice at the press conference.
Yeah, he's soft spoken, but
I'm still willing to trust him.
Yeah,
at this point,
I think you got to back off right now. We'll get into it in the 7 o'clock hour, but there is the possibility. I said this, and you correctly said, "Well, what about the Detroit guys?" The fact that Bob Myers was on the sideline for San Francisco, it made me think of San Francisco, not the Detroit guys. Ben Johnson's done. Aaron Glenn's in play.
Right.
But is there somebody on that staff that Peters knows that he could be hiring, or Wilkes, that they're just waiting until now after the Super Bowl?
Yeah. Possibly. I mean, maybe he has interest in interviewing Wilkes.
I'm zeroing in on Clint Kubiak.
Yeah, but we haven't even heard those names.
We haven't.
Right, but that doesn't mean anything because all the names we heard were wrong.
I understand that, but you always hear names that they're doing like initial Zoom interviews. You hear the names initially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but maybe he doesn't have to interview guys. He already knows. He knows they're silly and he loves them. He's worked with them.
I think it's going to be
Don't
someone
GMs want to work with people that they have a good relationship with, good rapport?
Often.
So
why wouldn't they already announced
it?
Why wouldn't they've already announced it? They could have announced that last week.
Well, because maybe that's what they're down to.
I mean, unless he's
maybe
like the eighth choice.
I don't know. Rooney Rule.
No,
they just want to do their due diligence.
No, I don't think so. I think it's someone
maybe they were targeting Ben Johnson. They lost out on him.
I have no idea. That's the beauty of it. I know I don't know.
Is there any buzz after the Aaron Glenn interview? Did it go well?
Not for me.
The only thing that I saw online was, I believe it was Rappaport.
Okay.
And he said that they really liked Quinn in the interview, but that they also liked Weaver.
Okay.
Which to me eliminated Bieniemy and
Aaron Glenn.
Bieniemy eliminated himself with the way he performed.
I understand.
Yeah, I don't seriously view him as a legit candidate.
But it was a sit down.
I posted it. Courtesy interview.
Yeah. I posted it on our Twitter at Junks Radio, and I think it was Pelissero, Rappaport, and Garofalo, who are all NFL insiders, and they were just talking about each of the teams. And when they got to the Commanders, they said, "Here's the situation." Macdonald, and this was before Macdonald agreed to terms with the Seahawks. So this was probably 8 a.m. yesterday. Said, all right, Macdonald probably going to Seattle, which was right. They said, so who's left for the Commanders? We know that they really liked Quinn, and they were really impressed by Weaver.
Mm-hmm. So you think it's down to those two? Maybe. It's fine.
But I think that they may go outside. Like, since there's no rush, the agents of Vrabel, and I don't know if Belichick has an agent, I got to believe that coaches are reaching out to the last team. There are only 32 of these jobs. It's hard to get those jobs. Unless those guys want to sit out on the sideline, they're probably contacting Josh Harris and Peters.
But it might be nice to sit out for a year.
Maybe.
Especially if you're Vrabel.
Yeah, you're right.
You're a young
Belichick,
guy.
yeah.
Belichick's older, so it's a little less,
Maybe Vrabel does TV for a year.
I saw a wacky rumor about Belichick to Boston College. Did Boston College's coach just get whacked?
Yeah. No, he took the DC job at Packers.
Oh, that's right.
He ain't doing that.
I mean,
I wouldn't think so.
I'll be stunned if he took a
too
college
big of a
job.
step
Boston
down.
College,
Too big. I'm sorry. Just if he's going to coach in college, he would have to
Now,
have
I can
like
see
a top
Bieniemy
20
doing something
type
like
job.
that.
Except people would say if it was Navy, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense for Bieniemy."
Different.
I mean,
That's
for
different.
Belichick.
Right.
Different. I still don't even think he would do Navy.
Yes,
really
for
hard
the
to win there.
report that the reason why the Boston College coach left is because he's beyond sick and tired of the NIL.
Yeah.
And he can't coach anymore. I think Belichick wants to get
Yeah, I don't
involved in
think he
that.
wants any part of that.
No, and I also think if he's going to keep coaching, he wants to break the record, right?
Of course. Yeah.
He doesn't want to start all over in college. What a nightmare that is.
Yeah, he's not going to BC, but
I do think that the Commanders should be, if they weren't blown away by any of these guys, and it appears they weren't blown away by any of these guys because they haven't hired them yet, unless they're in negotiations And it could be a situation where they're saying, hey, Macdonald just got a 6-year deal. I would like a 6-year deal. And Josh Harris, the company, might be saying, no, we're only going to give you 3, or we're only going to give you 4.
They can't.
Now, Rivera got 5, right?
Yeah, you got to get 4 or 5.
I mean, no one's taking less than 4.
They're not going to take it seriously if you offer them a 3-year deal.
Yeah, because they'll fire you after 2.
They're going to laugh in your face.
Yeah, you got to get a minimum 4.
I mean, they often fire guys after 1, even when they have a 5-year deal.
I don't think often, but it has happened. You're correct.
Mm-hmm.
Even before
happened
that.
with Steve Wilkes.
Yeah. Everybody says great things about Wilkes. I wouldn't be averse to that.
Who knows? I would think they're going to announce today or tomorrow.
I missed out on my bet by like an hour. I thought that we were going to get news before noon. I think it broke at like 1 or 2.
Close enough for me. I'll give you a win. What do I care?
They're the last team that doesn't have a coach.
But it
there were
doesn't
8
matter.
vacancies.
I wouldn't
I
have
don't
guessed
think
that.
I would argue
I think
that
it matters
matter
in terms of building your staff.
Maybe.
I do think there's competition for offensive coordinators, quarterbacks, coaches,
What I would love,
even linebackers, coaches, all that. There's going to be
Fair point.
competition.
Fair point. What I would love to know, and we never will, is how many of these guys did they actually lose out on? How many of these guys did they actually go after?
I know.
The perception will be they lost out on Ben Johnson, and we
Correct.
don't know.
And they lost out on
decided to say-
McDonald.
and they lost out on
Certainly
McDonald.
lost out on McDonald. I mean, looked like the prize acquisition.
Yeah, but we don't know.
Yeah,
that.
but
We're
he might have
just
been
assuming that.
he might have been number 5 on their list.
Possibly.
You know what I
We're
mean?
just
Like,
assuming. We
Well,
just
yeah,
don't
but
know.
what did you say? You heard that they were calling him?
Yeah, that they were made like a last ditch call, like while he was on his way
Yeah.
to Seattle.
Right.
Well, they might have
And
said, "Hey,
He probably said, "I'm about to go sign my deal. You're
Yeah.
finished."
But I don't think that means they were desperate for him. They might have
Yeah.
still been gauging interest. And what's the story?
Oh, that sounds like desperation.
Okay,
to
but
me,
what if all of the guys they really wanted all took other jobs?
Then
Well,
we
then-
can.
What if their top 5 guys just said
Well,
either
turn them down?
Well,
Ben
then-
Johnson,
that's what I wanna
Slowick,
know.
Well, then your head coaching search
McDonald.
is a dud.
Yeah.
If
Then
that's the case.
Then we turn on Peters and we light him on fire.
Still
Now,
too
is
early
it
to give
fine?
up
Now,
on
look.
Peters. Can't give up on Peters.
Say they hire
3 years
Anthony-
from now, you can give up on
Maybe
him.
Anthony Weaver is a coaching superstar.
Yeah.
That's ascending, and he hits on him.
Yeah, but Jason,
Yeah.
first impressions mean a lot. And
Yeah.
his first job here, his big job, was to get the coach. He put all his eggs in the Ben Johnson basket, while everybody
what
else.
you
Do we
think.
know?
That's
Do
what
we
you
know
know
that?
that.
Everybody knows that. You guys
I
are
don't
going to
know
Well,
that.
pretend
that's what's
you
been
guys are gonna
reported.
I know
You
that
can-
they
but-
loved Ben Johnson.
I don't know that.
My sources tell me they loved Ben Johnson.
Of course, they wanted Ben Johnson.
And my sources,
I know they
me.
wanted to
Ben
interview
Johnson
him.
didn't want them. That's
I don't know that they, but I know they interviewed him.
You know what my sources?
I don't know they offered him.
My eyeballs
you're-
from
you're
watching
just-
the Detroit offense.
I don't know.
That's
I
my
just don't.
source.
You're going to believe whatever they tell you, whatever press release.
Nobody's told me anything.
When that Commander's tweet comes out, we got our guy. You're going to be fist pumping.
I didn't
'Cause
say
you-
that. I told you. I'm out on this. I don't care who they pick. But I don't know for a fact that they offered. If I know for a fact they offered and he turned them down, then I would say, oh, yeah, it's a whiff.
Beyond reasonable doubt, they wanted Ben Johnson.
It's one thing.
I know they wanted to talk to him. They're very interested.
I'll give them a little bit of a pass for Ben Johnson, Drabby, just because it's not like Ben Johnson took another head coaching job in the NFL. He just said, I'm not.
Right.
I'm going
Well,
back to college.
the rumor over the last 24 hours is it was Chargers or bust. That's what has been circulating. That he decided, and then once they went hardball, he in his brain.
He was out.
Yeah, but I think he's a small-minded guy. I think he's probably a dope. So,
I don't think he's a dope.
I'm sure he's a dope.
because I don't know why you would turn down so much money, but I guess everyone thinks he's just getting guaranteed success every
So
year.
I don't know. We'll see. I would guess that. I'm still predicting there'll be an announcement today or tomorrow. They're not waiting until the week after the Super Bowl.
I think they want to get it wrapped up.
I mean, you've got college all-star games this weekend.
Right.
I mean, you got to get scouts together.
I mean, they already have part of their staff down in.
Yeah, but that might be that. Are they going to be?
Like Mayhew's down at the Senior Bowl
Jason,
already.
Are they all going to be working under the new regime?
I don't know.
Jason, did you hear Schefter said that the Commanders are going to take their time? It could be a week. It could be 2 weeks before they make their decision.
Right,
I would be surprised by that.
There's
under
no
consideration. That would be the Detroit Lions defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn, the Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn, the Ravens assistant head coach, Anthony Weaver. Those three coaches, all with defensive backgrounds, all are under consideration in Washington. But the Commanders are now the last of the 8 teams that had head coaching openings here to hire somebody. And so because they're not rushing to beat any other franchise, they now can sit back, take their time, and decide, are there any other candidates out there that we still want to speak to? Do we want to be even more diligent than we've been so far? There's no rush in Washington to get something done right now. They may take their time here, whether that's a day or a week, we'll see, but they don't feel compelled to go hire a coach right now because they are the last team with a head coaching vacancy.
He's not just making that up. Somebody told him that.
Totally.
I'd still be
And
surprised.
Probably Adam Peters.
And our pal Earl Forsey tweeted this yesterday. Shefty says Commanders were calling Mike Macdonald as he was heading to Seattle to see if he was still interested. No matter how they eventually spin it, HTTC missed on their top two choices for head coach.
Well, I'd say
Being
that
Macdonald and Ben Johnson.
that's an assumption, but I would
That is
say
an assumption.
I would say that there are three guys that they interviewed who
I
have
think it's
head
pretty
coaching
safe
jobs.
assumption.
Well, they were
interviewed.
interested. That doesn't mean that they wanted him for sure.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
I'm going to guess they had interest, and if Ben Johnson had said, I'll take your job, he would have signed the contract, and he would have been the head coach.
You might be
But he
right,
wasn't interested.
but EB is right as well. Is that because you don't know?
Yeah.
Okay, your source is yourself.
source
Sounds like they're
EB's
taking
right.
their time.
Like their number one choice might be Anthony Weaver all along, right? But they want to do their due diligence. They interviewed Ben Johnson, they interviewed Mike Macdonald, they interviewed Raheem Morris, all on that list. We don't
What
know.
if? Let's take them at their word. Maybe. Let's just maybe do this, and I know everyone lies. That's my next T-shirt. Everyone lies. But what if they actually had no number one choice, and they literally went in there and
Everybody's got a number one choice. There's no world where Anthony Weaver was a number one choice over Ben Johnson on any of these coaching lists. I refuse
agree.
to
But
believe
what
that.
if they had no number one? Like they're literally just interviewing everybody, and then they were going to decide. That's actually the objective way to do it. We have no favorites. We like these guys' resumes.
You could be right, but
But we don't know. And listen, I'm sure they were interested in Ben. Clearly, they were interested. They interviewed him 100 times. They're clearly interested in Mike Macdonald. But I don't know that they offered.
we don't know.
And that
You're
they
right.
were turned and rejected.
But Drabby's trying to tell us that they really wanted Ben Johnson.
well, they clearly were interested.
And if Ben Johnson said, "I want to work for you, Adam Peters,"
then maybe they would have been able to come out.
But they
together
also
with a
interviewed
deal.
Raheem Morris twice.
Right.
I mean, what I would say
They
is
interviewed Dan Quinn
Raheem
100
Morris
times.
and Mike
He
Macdonald.
walked away like with a scorned girl, like a walk of shame. No chick.
Raheem Morris and Mike Macdonald were both
Leaving the
hired.
bar at 2 a.m.
And
Nothing.
they interviewed both of those guys. They interviewed Ben Johnson, and he decided to stay as an offensive coordinator. There are four other guys that they've interviewed, and who knows if they're going to interview more.
We're just
I
assuming
think
they
should.
whiffed, and maybe they did. But they might have just not offered anybody yet.